I'm that girl who knows ask and you shall receive. It's fantastic times to really think about what's going on for us and why and why we might want to get support or need support. And so sometimes when we're just feeling this full range of emotions, or senses, I should say, because it's not until we start talking about it that we can actually identify the emotions. So there is a difference between the senses we feel and how our body is reacting to what's going on in our minds. And it's just been such a fantastic, busy time. So I'm just trying to reflect on some of the reminders that they want to share with you with much love. So here it is. This is going out to you who has been ever asking for this and wanting confirmation. So exit points, fun times, right? For those who have loved the experiences of being on Earth. And it's very strange from our perspective. You have to sort of get to a spiritual maturity, I think, to be able to accept talking about death and talking about all the ways that certain souls have wanted to be brutally murdered for those fantastic experiences. And of course, the emotions are very real. The trauma is very real. But the significance and purpose of it is extremely important. That's the whole purpose of it. We don't come down here pretending to be humans and having horrific things happen to us just to destroy our souls. It's not the choices that we're choosing, really. And when we are high dimensional beings, we are here to have our own independent experiences, and whatever we have chosen on the wish list of coming to Earth and experiencing all that there is, lots of souls have wanted to experience all of the dramatic death scenes. It's epic. And so while it's all fine to talk about it as an abstract, when you actually talk about it and feel into it because it's someone you know, hello, emotions. Oh, there you are. And so I just want to remind people that when someone has died, they are really still within you. And when you consciously think about them, you're getting their conscious, that they consciously are noticing, oh, that person's still thinking of me. What are they doing? How are they doing? So they'll come down, give you a big love bubble, or, just a big love energetic. Okay, I'm right here. My Nana's right here. And she's just like, she gives me an energetic hug, and she just, is just, saying lovely things to me, which is sweet. So yay for that. But so that happens also for you. And so anyone that you know who has passed and gone, you know that when we just think of them, it calls their energy in. And this is strange for people who are actually able to do pure channeling, because when they suddenly think of someone, it feels like they're right here. And if you're thinking of someone who's got like a really strong accent or something, you actually feel their accent within you. And when you're channeling them, for example, they come with their accent because you're calling them on with their consciousness of being that person. And so while they are higher dimensional souls now, if you were thinking of, like I was talking to this channeler who was doing Bob Marley, who could feel Bob Marley energy and really wanted, it was very clear that Bob Marley wanted to talk to him directly. And he is learning how to channel and understand what is all going on. And he was feeling very uncomfortable because he didn't want to do the accent, because he's like, oh, I'm just putting that on. That's what I must think I must do to be able to channel him. And trying to explain to someone about, well, if you are channeling his consciousness of being Bob Marley, he does have an accent, so he will be translating that through in a very strong, rich experience. I have felt this before when I've channeled, and I haven't really wanted to include the accent because it just, I just feel like it's dicky for me, and so I try not to do it. So I'm just focusing on the message and the content. But I know many people who would feel great comfort and confirmation. Oh yeah, it is him. It is him. Because if I'm channeling a man, first of all, my voice doesn't sound like a man. And so those people who are not sure of the energy and the information, this is a great way for them to dismiss it. So God, sorry, there's just so much that I need to share with you. So anyway, We're always connected into our loved ones, always. And, they're always thinking of us when we're thinking of them, because that's just how it works, because we're all connected, we're all one, we're all energy. And so if we are thinking about someone who is even living, that is the same thing. And we can feel suddenly someone popping into our mind. And it's really important to feel how we feel when we think of that. So for an example, someone who was claiming to do Akashic records and got caught out really embarrassingly through lots of quantum sessions that they were full of shit, they're not that happy. And so they're sending and thinking really bad things about those people who have discovered the truth. And so they're noticing a lot of that person popping into their heads, and they're feeling really yucky, and they keep wondering, well, here I am very relaxed doing my dishes, and I'm getting a sense of like anger, resentment, judgment, and aggression. And I'm thinking about that person with all of those emotions, and that person doing the dishes is thinking, what is going on here? Like, why am I suddenly thinking horrible things about that person? And ultimately what it really is that you're picking up and attuning yourself to what they're trying to send you. So it's about you recognizing their anger, their bitterness, it's not even embarrassment. People who lie and manipulate and sell bullshit, they're not embarrassed about it. They're not ashamed of it. They're not even sorry about it. They're just pissed off that they got caught out and desperately want to hide the fact that they're full of it. So, so much to be said. So anyway, getting back to how we die. If we have been killed through, say, like lots of the Witcher collectives, they were, often very great healers and really helpful. They were doing sort of different types of sort of Reiki healing energy, working with energy, knowing how to use tools of herbs and a whole lot of stuff to help heal their fellow people and friends and family and villages. That was seen as demonic and scary. And so they were killed and hung and burnt and a whole lot of stuff. So when you were in your truth, living your best healing lives, and then the consequences of that was people using their free will to kill you, that is quite traumatic for the families, for one soul. And you come back and to heal that, you come back to overcome that, you come back to face that. It's quite common. You will come back and be part of a physical family where those people that did murder you or whatever actually are part of your life family. And, that's sometimes the conflict. Fun times, right? But you're having to learn to love and trust each other again and have unconditional love for each other. And that's really where how you get to grow and heal. So we're coming back. Those people who have had other lifetimes here are coming back to heal from those past experiences, past traumas, past pain. And while it may just look like brothers and sisters having a little bit of a tiff sometimes, actually what's going on there is they are forcing themselves to be a physical family to be able to heal and grow from each other. But there is this underlying problem that needs to be overcome. But when we're not living in the same village as each other in families, and while it's easy to sort of distance each other and only see each other on family vacation, important dates, that actual connection of healing from each other and growing from each other can be quite challenging, especially if you have different mindsets in terms of belief systems, blah, 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 blah. But it's all very significant. So it's always interesting to explore in sessions. But when you've been killed for being a healer and being a big powerhouse of energy, when you come back and you're still this big powerhouse energy, but you're a little bit timid of humans, then you will do things to protect yourself and to prevent yourself from having that experience again. And so this seems really common with those who have been classified as being a witch. They're afraid to speak their truth and show their powers and be truly who they are, because they have this, unbeknownst to them, this fear of being killed for it. And we know Nostradamus, a whole bunch of beings came into our sessions publicly and reminded us with much love, we're not going to die speaking our truth anymore. That's not quite the way you live. I mean, yes, some people have some, but it's small. It's those bigger influences. It's not average people, that are just the common folk. And isn't it a blessing to be a common folk person? I know, I appreciate it, because we get to be independently truthful to our friends, our social connections, to be able to share our opinions and thoughts, to be able to uplift people with our truth, and to be able to give them a new perspective and not be murdered for it. That's quite nice and refreshing, isn't it? So this is really healing for a lot of people. Some people are really scared to share their truth to their family and friends because, they're just not at that same level. And this is why we keep hearing in sessions that, social media platforms with groups that you feel comfortable in, you sharing your perspectives, your truth, your love, your unconditional love, and your upliftment to others is actually part of you healing and being safe with it. So I know lots of people don't want to be on social media because it's very dense. And I know lots of people don't want to, see other dense people or feel them, but that really kind of is our purpose and mission here. Those people who are sleeping, they're not our mission. They're doing exactly what they should be doing. It's helping those people who are still trying to find their feet, find their way, find the truth, because there's just, so much disinformation out there. It's, it's easier to find disinformation than to find truth. And this is why it's important for you to have your own sessions and channel your own truth to be able to actually understand what's going on and why. And lots of people don't want to be of service, and don't see the power of a smile, don't see the power of sending a beautiful message or a comment in someone's Facebook post that can be upliftment. You don't have to talk to them about the crimes against humanity. You don't have to talk to them about anything apart from uplifting their feelings, and you honestly, with integrity, wanting to uplift them. We know that people love sometimes the drama and love the problems that they create, and they're seeking attention. Those ones that are very draining and very self-serving. You also know the ones where they truly are wanting to understand what's going on for them and why. And when they say, I'm not normal, I'm scared, I'm in fear, I'm really, really worried, the concepts that we need to be able to remind them. We're never alone. Love is the key. Worrying about something will lower our frequency vibration. So facing our fears and actually learning beyond a 3D mindset of, oh, it's definitely dark entities invading me, blah, 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 blah. We're really good at creating negative narratives of fear. We're really, really good at that. And when you know a little bit of spirituality, often people will go into, it's a boogie monster, blah, 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 dark, whatever. And, that freaks us out. And so lots of people are like, I'm out, I'm not doing spirituality anymore. Too scary. There's too much darkness in there. You don't know. You're going to call on Satan, blah, 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 blah. And so we're trying to remind them that there is truly nothing to fear. Nothing to fear. The hand is not afraid of the arm, but if the hand is not aware of all of the things that the arm does, it could feel like there is something behind me supporting me, but I don't know. It could be dark, it could be negative. And again, there's so much influences that keep selling you this fear that there's all these negative beings out there that want to loose you and do butt stuff with you or whatever, just to make you feel like I can't connect in with anything. It's so scary, the spirituality, and, couldn't channel because you could just, call on Satan. Well, okay, but we all have to face our fears and have spiritual maturity. And if we are noticing anything, if we're ignoring anything, and if we are just oblivious, I don't even want to look at that fear. We're supposed to be aware of everything and have balance and neutral. And if we are still avoiding not looking at stuff because it makes us too dense, yep. So let's work together to be able to find a way to elevate ourselves out of that density so you can see things with balance. People who are talking about the crimes against humanity, yes, they're very heavy, they're very looping. And when you see it from a bigger perspective, that it's all life contracts to learn and grow, to empower ourselves, jazz hands, right? We can actually have complete balance and neutrality with it all. So while we have got this luxury of inner peace, it's our purpose to go and support those to be able to consider things with a higher perspective using our metaphysical knowledge. Fun times. So we really need to support those who are supposed to awaken and find where the truth lays for them, because so many people are focusing on the wrong collective's information and then wondering why they're in deep fear. And there's one other thing I wanted to share before I go. So anyway, people who are afraid and haven't overcome the trauma of dying from other lifetimes, they will do a whole lot of things to protect themselves from being of service or letting people see them, and a whole lot of stuff. So, you know, people who are shy or people who are reluctant to be part of a Facebook community group, you know, that's a choice and free will and all, but the internet's really not going to kill you. And when you have your emotions in balance and check, and you know that you get to choose if you want to feel triggered or not, you know, that's very empowering, and almost face your fears and feel into that. So fantastic times. I feel like there was some other thing that they wanted me to share. I know that it just feels like such a random a patchwork of information today. It's just, there's so much going on. Yes, so I listened to a channeling from this person, and he was saying the information, and he was saying about we are beings and we are from Mars, and I fell into that, and I was like, oh, it's not Mars, what we would label Mars being, but he is translating that as being Mars. What they showed him in a sense is you know, a little red, dusty, empty planet, and for his mind to translate that place, he labeled it as Mars. Now, the higher beings knew it's not Mars, my friend, you little addicted to labels and names, humans, so cute. But they allowed him to understand it as Mars, because ultimately it doesn't really matter what planet and what name they came from. That's insignificant to them. But the messages that they were showing and telling him was the actual purpose. And so when you're listening to people channeling, understand that they are translating the senses. So I know I got a sense of a train, and I didn't want to say train because it made no sense to me. So I said car, thinking, a vehicle's a vehicle. Okay. So I also know when I've been listening back to some sessions, I have said people when I know they were saying, they really meant to say a whole bunch of beings, not people. So not humans. There was beings, but I know I have sensed a group of beings, and I just have said people, because it just was like that. Even though I knew that they weren't, what they were showing me weren't humans, it was a lazy way to say what I was trying to say, because that wasn't the purpose and significance of the message. So I realized I've caught some of these things that I've said in sessions and gone, oh, that wasn't quite what they were showing me, but I translated it in a rush, and there is no big concepts that have been mistranslated, but it's those small details of, and then a group of people were having a picnic when it was like, well, no, we are beings and we don't eat, you know. So it's so important for you guys to channel yourselves, to be able to understand how channeling can have you know, if you channeled certain beings and I channeled certain beings, we may also get, oh, that's a Mars-like planet, but we may just say, oh, that's Mars. And so in the rush of getting the context and the information out to you, we're trying to label and describe it the best we can with our in a dictionary of English. So it's really interesting to understand it. And this is why some channeling can sound a little bit off in some regards, but you know, we need to be listening to the concepts and the information versus the actual descriptions and names. names and labels is our sticking points for lots of spirituality things. So, are we open and flexible to drop labels and names and be more open to the concepts? The concepts are important. I find when people hold on to labels and names, that's not their own channeling labels and names. They've picked that up from someone else, and they're using it and parroting it as if it's their own information. If you're not channeling information yourself, you have a lot to go and grow from and to do. And so you really need to check the information that you are accepting and believing, especially with other people who are not the same collective as you, just saying, because from their perspective, different collectives will only see certain things. So a reptilian, for example, will only see that their higher self is at a 6th dimension, and that they are going to assume everybody's higher self is only at a 6th dimension. So, it sounds like they're very convincing because that's their truth. That's 100% their truth. But it's not our truth. Well, it's not my truth, that's for sure. And a lot of clients who talk about their subconscious as being much more advanced than 6th dimension, and then their higher selves are even beyond that. So this is why we're all wanting the truth, but for some collectives, they're capped at the truth and the information. And I find with the Pleiadians as well, they're only getting sort of up to 7th dimension perspectives. And so this is why I like being able to connect in with my Turian friends and soul families, because they have this other extension of information, which then can sort of explain why certain other people and influencers are getting set information. Fantastic times. So yes, definitely explore it. And I think when people do their own sessions and realize, I was getting a sense of something else, but I doubted it and I overthought it. And so I translated it as that word. And, you really can feel into what's going on when you're channeling and doing these sessions. So it's really important to just have that experience. I do know lots of people also where they're not supposed to have full quantum sessions because they're on that independent journey to empower themselves, to know thyself, to connect in deeply by self, and not have that tool as being the quantum session. So that's really fascinating because they're like advanced souls. They're like, yeah, cool. I'll awaken myself. Thank you. I'll get the full truth and channel in deeply. And I think that's really impressive because some of us, including myself, had needed to have these stepping stones of being able to connect in and have these quantum sessions ourselves to be able to know exactly how it is that we connect in and all that sort of stuff. And it's a journey. It absolutely is a journey. I know that when clients are channeling about their children and what's going to happen with the shift and all this sort of stuff, we are very sensitive to that. Our emotions are very sensitive to that. So we are listening right close to hear and feel the senses that our subconscious is telling us about our children, because, no one, even though we're so mature and spiritual and blah, 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 no one really truly wants to see an exit point of their own child. No one. Yes, would have to suck it up and would have to accept it, and we'd have to know it's their life contract and there's lessons in there. Those are really fucking painful lessons, aren't they? So when we are trying to be spiritual, we are spiritual when we can apply spirituality to our mindsets, to our thoughts and feelings and emotions, and how we, conduct ourselves and how we feel energized. And it seems really important, again, if we're too much in our hearts and feel everything, we can't share that truth because we're not quite sure of how our feelings and emotions are, because we haven't labeled them yet, because it's just all these feelings. If we're too much in our heads and we're thinking, we again try to block our truth, because if we're thinking worry, fear, all this stuff, all this, there's definitely going to be dark entities, blah, 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 blah. We have to have a balance. And when you're truly in balance, that's when you can open up your throat chakras and, say goodbye to thyroid problems or frogs in your throats or whatever. And so that's where we truly are balanced. When we have ultimate balance, that's when we can speak our truth. And when we find that we suddenly have got this balance, it's a little bit scary, because it feels like from us holding back our truth and being small and little with, I think maybe there is something purposeful about that too. It's purposeful. Look at it, blah, 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 blah. It can feel very intensive when we are suddenly not holding ourselves back. It's almost like we're so fast with our growth that we almost get speed bubbles, and we're almost scared. It's like, oh my gosh, this is going to trigger them. My truth will trigger people. And again, if you are holding back your truth because you don't want to trigger people, what you're really doing is holding them back from growing. A trigger will always help people grow, always, because they'll be so pissed off, triggered with it. They'll actually think about it a lot, and then they will learn to actually be able to overcome it and see things from a different perspective, eventually in due time. But if you have got a role to trigger people into seeing things from a new perspective, and you don't want to trigger them because, that's just going to hurt them so much. Growth hurts, my friends. And the more that they empower themselves to grow, the more that they're not going to be afraid of growth. They'll celebrate it. Yes, another trigger. Where can I strengthen myself today? Love it. Love that opportunity. So yes, don't be afraid to trigger people. And of course, it's delivery. If you are sharing your truth with much love, and you're coming from a really a place of wanting to empower people, to inspire people, to uplift people, encourage people, that's always going to be well received versus you're wrong, I'm right, here is the information that you should know, dummy. So there's that. It's all about delivery, isn't it? Okay. I feel like there was still so much that I want to share, but I hope you're having some fantastic days and empowering yourself with great choices. I still hear people not drinking enough water. It's a choice, but if you truly want to empower yourself, and if you truly want to raise your frequency vibrations, water could be your best friend for that. And, after your own best friend, which is you, who should be looking after yourself, nurturing yourself, resting when you need to rest, enjoying things when you're meant to be enjoying them, not overthinking stuff, not panicking, not worrying, trusting that you're purposeful, trusting that you are significant, trusting you are needed and wanted to share your balance and peace, to share your love and your perspectives with others and all. So fun times. Go be happy.